This boy, he put rat poison in his parents' food. The father noticed that today's food tasted good. He asked his mother what she'd put in it. She said she hadn't added anything. Father immediately looked at Pete. He asked him what he had done. Suddenly, his body reacted. He fell on the table and spurted out a pool of blood. Mother grabbed a knife and chased after Peter. Peter ran frantically up the stairs. Just as the mother caught him, the poison took effect. She died before his eyes. It turns out that not long ago, Peter always heard noises in the walls when he slept. He immediately ran to find his mother. She came into the room and couldn't hear anything. She thought her son was hallucinating. She left with a few words of comfort. But the next night, there was another banging sound on the wall. Peter had to shine a flashlight on the wall. Peter was not popular at school. He was always bullied by his classmates. There was only one teacher who cared about him. Halloween was approaching. Everyone was drawing pictures of the holiday, but he drew something black. The teacher picked it up and looked at it. She went to Peter's house. She told his mother about his behavior. She told the teacher it was just his imagination. When the teacher left, the mother went to Peter's room. She wasn't worried about her son. She blamed him for asking for help. That day after school, Peter was bullied by his classmates again. Peter cried under the covers. Then the voices from the walls called out to him again, teaching Peter to fight back. But what he didn't realize was, the first time he fought back, he broke his leg. The school expelled him. His mother told him about Pete's plea for help. The father was thrilled to hear it, and Peter explained that he could hear people in the walls. The father was furious. He locked Pete in the basement. As each day passed, Peter was finally released from his confinement. He said he wanted to see her. The other party said there is a hole under the corner where you can see her. Frightened, Peter went back to bed. In the middle of the night, there was a knock at the door. Then the door slowly opened. A figure flashed through. No matter how much Pete shouted, there was no response. And then in a flash, his father appeared in the room. It turned out to be a dream of Peter's. At night, a voice came from the wall and told Peter she was Peter's sister, that her parents had locked her up. And they said that a little girl was killed by her parents. She was killed by her parents. They saved her body in the back garden. The next day, Peter found it in the back garden. Then he called his teacher for help. He hung up the phone and found his mother. Her mother took Peter to her room and discovered a hole in the wall. The mother had a nervous breakdown. By the time Halloween rolled around, Peter, at the instigation of his sister, he put rat poison in his parents' food. Peter watched his parents by his own hand. Then he went to his father's side to get the keys. He grabbed him with his last breath. He begged Peter not to let her out. At this point, Pete couldn't listen to his father. He opened the door with the key and let his sister out. At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was the same student who had bullied Pete. They came to take revenge. They began to look for Peter. When they reached the piano room, the hair on the piano suddenly caught his attention. When he approached to check it out, he was pulled down. A stream of blood gushed out, and the other student took off the headgear, but found a large amount of blood. A secret door suddenly opened. It was Peter's dead father. Then a figure flashed in and out. His brother was dragged away. His classmates, not surprisingly, were also killed. The last person was also watched by Peter. His head was removed by the other party. It turns out that his sister was born deformed, so his father locked her in a cage. Over the years, she learned to crawl. She suffered more than any human could bear, but Peter had the love of his parents. And then Peter was put in the cage. The teacher came and found blood. When she tried to call for help, she was attacked. Peter's voice came out of nowhere. The teacher followed the voice and found Peter's room. After locating Peter, he closed the door. Then he used a big axe to break through the wall. Then he managed to rescue Peter inside. When they ran out, Peter was recaptured. Peter's sister wanted to keep him here, but the teacher came back. The teacher came back to fight with his sister. The teacher was knocked down in a flash. He was slowly crawling towards her. Peter suddenly grabbed his sister's hair and climbed up. The teacher slashed at him with all his might. Sister fell back to the iron house. Peter immediately closed the iron door. At this moment, the sister once again played the emotional card. Peter no longer believed. He turned around and left.